Smoke drifted through the trees, thick and heavy. The forest had once been peaceful, but now it carried the sharp smell of ash and burning metal. Birds had stopped singing. Everything was silent except for the distant broken hum of wreckage. Still cooling behind him, Jaya. CE sat with his back against a tree, wrists tied with alien rope. His arms ached. His shirt was torn. He had been left alone for what felt like hours. Maybe longer. The alien camp that once held noise, shouting, lights it, was gone now. They had left him behind. On purpose, he didn't scream. Not anymore. At first he had yelled, called for help, pulled at the strange bindings that didn't burn, but refused to break. But now he just sat still, watching the last bits of light fade through the trees. She had done it, the alien girl. The one with silver fur, bright green skin, and eyes that glowed faint blue in the dark. She had bound him herself softly, almost gently, but left him there. No explanation. No words. Just a long, unreadable stare. And then she was gone. Jace didn't know why she spared him. The rest of his squad was either gone or taken. But him? She tied him up beside a tree and vanished. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. His body was tired. His lips were dry. He kept hearing her voice in his head, even though she hadn't spoken much. Just that one sentence, barely above a whisper, "Don't follow, or I'll have to hurt you." Then silence, a rustle. Jace's head jerked. Up. At first, he thought he imagined it. A breeze, maybe. A leaf falling. But then it came again, closer, heavier. Footsteps, not boots. Not shoes, padded, quiet, careful. He didn't breathe. From the shadows of the broken shelter ahead, she stepped out. Her tall, fur-covered frame glowed faintly in the moonlight. Her movements were smooth, graceful, almost like a predator, but her eyes looked soft, sad. She didn't speak. Jace's jaw clenched. "You came back," he said quietly. She tilted her head slightly. Her silver ears twitched. Still, she said nothing. He shifted against the tree. "You left me here, tied up like a prisoner." "I had to," she finally said. Her voice was calm, deeper than a human woman's, but not harsh. "They were watching. If I didn't bind you, they would have killed you." His heart beat harder. "You could have untied me after they left. I wasn't sure if you would still trust me." He looked down at the bindings. "Guess that answers your question." She knelt slowly beside him. The night breeze made her fur ripple. Her claws shimmered under the pale light as she reached out. One by one, she pulled at the glowing ropes. They didn't break, they vanished, like they were never real. His hands fell free. She didn't move. Away. Instead, she held out her hand. He stared at it. He didn't understand her. This was the same alien who leaped out of the smoke 2 nights ago and took down 2 soldiers without making a sound. She had pinned him with one hand and looked into his eyes like she was searching for something. Not hate, not anger. Something else. Now she looked almost scared. "Why are you here?" he asked. She didn't pull her hand back. "Because I can't stop thinking about you." Jace slowly reached out and took her hand. It was soft, warm. Her fur was thick around the wrist, but her palm was skin cool, smooth, almost like marble warmed by sunlight. "I don't know who you are," he said. "You don't have to." She replied, "Not yet." They sat like that for a long time, just holding hands, just breathing. The war still echoed far in the distance, but here beneath the broken beams and forest shadows, it felt quiet. She finally looked up again. "I didn't want to hurt you. I only wanted you to live." Jace nodded. "Then don't leave me again." She smiled, just a little. "I won't." The sun was rising slowly, sending warm gold light through the forest trees. Jace sat on a broken log, rubbing his sore wrists. The strange bindings were gone, but the feeling of being helpless still clung to his skin. She sat across from him, calm, quiet, watching him like he might disappear if she blinked. Neither of them had slept. Jase finally broke the silence. "What's your name?" She tilted her head, thoughtful. "You wouldn't be able to say it right. Try me." She blinked slowly, then spoke something soft, something that sounded like wind through metal. It had rhythm, like a song, but no human tongue could repeat it. He smiled a little. "Yeah, you're right." She looked down. "You can call me whatever you want." "All right," he said. "Then I'll call you Kira." She blinked again. "That sounds nice." Jace stood up, looking toward the ruined path that led deeper into the woods. "What now?" Kira stood too. Her movements were silent. "Now they'll come looking for you." "You mean your people?" "No," she said. "The humans." Jace's eyes narrowed. "How do you know?" "I've been watching their patrols. They think you were taken. If they find you with me, they'll shoot first," he finished. She nodded. He turned slowly to face her. "Then we run." Kira seemed surprised. "You'd run with me?" "You tied me up, threatened me, then came back just to hold my hand," he said with a faint smile. "I think that earns a second chance." Kira's ears lowered slightly. It was a gesture of emotion, like sadness mixed with something else. Regret, maybe, or guilt. She stepped closer. "Then we need to leave soon. They use drones. They'll scan this area within the hour." Jace grabbed his pack, half burned, but still useful, and slung it over one shoulder. He didn't ask where they were going. He didn't care. She turned, leading him through a hidden path behind the ruins. Her silver fur caught the sunlight. Her steps were fast but careful. Always listening, he followed. They walked for nearly 2 hours through the woods, past rivers. Old war machines now rusted and half swallowed by moss. The earth was healing, but the war hadn't ended, not really. The fighting just moved to quieter places. Eventually, they reached a cave. Kira ducked under the entrance, motioning for him to follow. The inside was dry and cool, lit by soft blue lights embedded in the stone. "This is one of our hideouts," she said. He looked around. "You built this?" She shook her head. "The forest did. We just asked it nicely." Jace didn't understand what that meant, but he didn't ask. His legs were tired. His back ached. He sat against the wall and let out a slow breath. Kira sat across from him, knees drawn close. He watched her in silence. "So," he finally asked, "what were you doing near our outpost in the first place?" She looked up slowly. "I was looking for you." Jace froze. "You knew about me?" "I saw you weeks ago," she said softly. "Before the battle. You helped a young scout who fell near your line. You gave her water. You didn't shoot her," he remembered. A small alien, not fully grown, crying, hurt. He had been ordered to stay back, but he broke the rule. "You were watching?" "I was watching everything," she said. "That's when I started." Wondering, he blinked. Wondering what? If maybe one human could be different. Her voice trembled at the end, barely a whisper. Jace didn't know what to say. Number. Training had prepared him for this. Not for her. Not for the feeling building inside his chest. A strange mix of guilt, warmth, and something deeper. She stood and walked over to him. He didn't move. She sat beside him. Close. Her hand found his again. "I didn't mean to scare you," she said. "I just didn't know how else to save you." He looked down at their hands, human and alien, flesh and fur. Two lives that weren't supposed to cross. But they had, and something was changing. He squeezed her hand gently. "Next time, don't leave me behind." Kira leaned her head against his shoulder. "I won't, not ever again." Night fell fast in the forest. The wind outside the cave had turned cold. It whispered through the trees like it carried secrets. But inside the cave, Jace and Kira sat close, silent, sharing warmth and listening to each other breathe. Jace still couldn't believe it. He was sitting beside an alien. Not as an enemy, not as a prisoner, but as something else. A companion, a protector, maybe more. Kira shifted beside him. Her sharp eyes moved toward the dark mouth of the cave. Her ears twitched. He noticed. What is it? They're coming, she said. He stood up fast. The drones? No, soldiers. He grabbed his pack. How close? Less than a kilometer. 2 humans. 1 drone flying low. Their voices are loud. They think you're injured. Jace's chest tightened. If they saw her, if they saw him with her, they wouldn't ask questions. They'd shoot. His old team, his own people. He looked at Kira. We have to go, now. But she didn't move. Instead, her eyes glowed a little brighter. I have to show you something first. Now, there's no more time to hide. She reached toward the back of the cave. A smooth stone wall shimmered and faded, revealing a tunnel, not dug by hands. It looked like the rock had melted and shaped itself. The walls pulsed faintly with blue light, alive like veins under skin. Kira walked in first. Jace hesitated, then followed. The tunnel led down a slow curve and opened into a large underground chamber. At the center stood a tall tree. Glowing, its leaves sparkled like stars. Its roots shimmered with energy. But the most surprising thing wasn't the tree, it was what floated above it. A structure, almost like a shell. Cracked, open, pulsing with warmth. A cocoon. Jace stared. What is this place? Kira walked to the tree, placing her hand on the bark. This is where I was born, she said. Not like humans. I didn't have a mother. The forest raised me. It chose me. Chose you for what? She turned slowly. To end the war. Jace blinked. What are you talking about? She looked at him, her voice calm but full of quiet pain. The forest created me to connect, not to kill. But when your people came, with machines and fire, my people responded with claws and teeth. We became animals. I became a weapon. Jace shook his head. But you saved me. You tied me up instead of letting me die. Because I remembered what I was before the war. He stared at her. And now? I'm remembering again. Outside the tunnel, a sharp beep echoed. The sound of scanning. The soldiers were getting close. Jace stepped toward her. If they find this place, they can't, she said. Not unless you lead them, he frowned. You think I would do that? I don't know what fear might make you do, she whispered. He stepped closer. Then let me prove it. She hesitated. How? He reached up and placed his hand over hers, right on the glowing bark of the tree. The room shifted. Energy rushed up through his arm, soft, electric, gentle. Images flashed in his mind, memories not his own. Visions of trees growing over machines. Of peace, of war. Of young alien children laughing before the sky turned red. He gasped and pulled back. She caught him before he fell. Now you know, she said. His voice shook. You don't want to destroy us. I want to stop the dying. Outside, a loud voice echoed through the trees. Lieutenant Jace Miller. If you're alive, respond. It was his squad. Kira looked toward the tunnel. Her ears dropped. If you go out there, they'll take you. You'll never see this again. Jace looked toward the entrance. His name, his old world, was calling him back, but then he looked at her. At what she showed him. At what she trusted him with. He took a breath. I'm not going, he said. She stared. You're sure? I'm not leaving the only person who didn't treat me like a weapon. Slowly, Kira reached out and held his hand again. The forest outside was full of soldiers. But deep underground, in the glowing heart of something ancient and alive, 2 hands stayed together. Asterisk. The voices outside the cave grew louder. Jace Miller. Respond or we assume you're dead. Jace didn't move. Kira stood still beside him, her fur faintly glowing in the light of the ancient tree. Her hand was still wrapped gently around his, but her eyes were sharp, watching the tunnel entrance. They're close, she said. They're scanning the stone now. It'll confuse them for a while, but not forever, Jace nodded. They won't stop until they see me. Kira lowered her head. Then maybe they need to. He looked at her in shock. You want me to go back? No, she said. But I won't hide if it means you die for me. You don't get it, Jace said. If they find you, they'll shoot. They'll call you a threat just for breathing. Near me. I know, she said calmly. But I also know what I am, and if you protect me now, they'll never trust you again. He felt his chest tighten. His old life, his rank, his people, his orders, it was all pulling him one way. But everything inside him pulled the other. He had seen the truth. Touched it. She wasn't a monster. She was proof that peace was possible. But only if someone made the first impossible choice. Suddenly, the tunnel flashed with red light, a warning. Kira spun around. The drone found the entrance. Jace grabbed her arm. We run. She didn't argue. They dashed through the hidden passage and deeper into the old forest, under thick roots and hanging vines, jumping over moss-covered stones and ducking beneath fallen beams. The forest wasn't just alive, it seemed to help them. Branches moved on their own. Rocks shifted. Light twisted to hide their shapes. Still behind them, mechanical voices shouted. Boots hit the ground hard. The chase had begun. Kira stopped. At a ridge overlooking a steep cliff. A river roared below. She turned to him. This is the only way. You want to jump? They won't follow. He looked down. It's a long fall. You trust me? He didn't hesitate. Yes. She held out her hand. He took it. Together they leapt. The fall was fast, violent. The wind howled in his ears. His heart felt like it would rip from his chest, but Kira wrapped her arms around him, twisting mid-air, taking the hit of the water first. They crashed into the river like stones, but the water caught them, pulling them under before spitting them back up. Jace gasped for air, coughing. Grabbing onto her arm, Kira was already swimming toward the rocky edge. Come on, they crawled out, soaked and breathing hard. For a moment, all they could do was lie on the ground, side by side, staring up at the dark canopy above. Jace spoke first. That was insane, Kira laughed, breathless. You're alive. He turned to her. So are you. They smiled. Wet, tired, shaking, but alive. She stood slowly. We have to keep moving. They'll search the river next. He nodded. There's an old relay tower a few clicks north. It's broken, but maybe I can send a message to someone who still listens. You still trust someone? Not many, Jace said. But I know one man who believes this war is wrong. Kira looked into his eyes. Then we go, together. They started walking again, step by step, deeper into the wild. But something had changed. They weren't just running anymore. They were planning, fighting, back in a new way. And somewhere deep in his chest, Jace knew. The moment she returned and held his hand, something inside him shifted forever. The old relay tower stood crooked, half covered in vines and rust. Its top was broken, bent by years of storms and war. But Jace recognized it. He had used it before, long ago, before the fighting turned forests into graves. Jace and Kira stood at the base, catching their breath. She looked around carefully. No heat signatures, no drones. Jace nodded. Good, but we don't have much time. Inside, the tower was cold and dark. The console still worked, though the lights flickered weakly. Jace knelt down, wiping away dust and pulling out wires. From a panel that barely held together, Kira stood near the door, guarding. Can you do it? She asked. Maybe, he said, working fast. I'll use an old private code. It routes through a dead satellite. They won't track it easily. After a minute of sparks, static, and short pulses, a soft beep came from the console. Got it, Jace muttered. Sending now. The message was simple. It's Jace. I'm alive. I have something important. She's not the enemy. Meet at the Black Pass Cave at sunset, alone. He hit send. Kira stepped closer. Who did you contact? Jace looked at her. Captain Rowan. My old commander. He's the only one who ever questioned the war. If anyone can listen, it's him. Kira's ears lowered, and if he doesn't, then we keep running. She didn't reply, but she stayed close. The hours passed slowly. They found cover in a burned-out cabin not far from the meeting place. It had no roof, just walls half-eaten by vines. But it was hidden, and that was enough. As the sun dipped low behind the trees, they moved carefully toward the cave. The Black Pass Cave wasn't deep, but it was known as a neutral point used long ago for peace talks that never worked. Now, it was quiet. Kira stayed in the shadows. Jace stood out in the open, heart pounding. He waited. And then footsteps. One man. Alone. It was Rowan, older now, beard longer. Armor scratched and faded. But his eyes sharp, tired, smart hadn't changed. He stopped a few meters away. Jace. Jace stepped forward. Captain. I read your message. You're with her? Jace nodded. Yes. Rowan's jaw clenched. Where is she? Jace hesitated. Watching us. I need to see her. Kira stepped out from the shadows slowly. Her eyes stayed on Rowan. Her stance was guarded, but not aggressive. Rowan's eyes widened for a second. But he didn't reach for his weapon. That's her? He asked quietly. She saved me, Jace said. Twice. Rowan stared at her. Then at Jace. You trust her? With my life. For a long moment, Rowan said nothing. Then, he sighed. I believe you. But you're in deep trouble, Jace. The command already marked you as captured and possibly turned, they think. You're compromised. I am, Jace said. But not by the enemy, by the truth. Rowan took a slow breath. All right, I'll help. I know a place off-grid. We'll go there, talk, plan. Jace smiled in relief. But Kira didn't move. She was staring at Rowan. I smell something, she said softly. Rowan frowned. What? Before anyone could speak, a red dot flickered across her chest. Kira's eyes widened. Ambush! She shouted. Jace turned, but it was too late. A shot rang out. Kira twisted, pushing Jace to the ground. The beam clipped her shoulder. She let out a soft, pained growl. Jace rolled over her, shielding her with his body. 3 soldiers emerged from the ridge guns raised, armor gleaming in the fading light. Rowan didn't move. Jace's voice was full of betrayal. You brought them? Rowan's eyes were cold now. I had to. I didn't come to kill her. I came to take you home. Jace stared at him. You lied. No, Rowan said quietly. I just didn't believe you'd fall so far. Kira coughed, clutching her bleeding shoulder. He didn't fall, she whispered. He rose. Jace stood slowly, placing himself between her and the soldiers. I'm not going back, he said. Not without her. Rowan nodded once. I figured you'd say that. He turned to walk away. Don't shoot, he ordered. Not unless they make the first move. Then he vanished into the trees. Jace helped Kira up, his heart racing. They were surrounded now, but something in her eyes, despite the pain, despite the wound, still burned strong. We'll get through this, he said softly. Her hand found his again, even surrounded, even bleeding. They held on. Asterisk. The soldiers stood in a wide circle around the cave, mouth rifles up, scanning every movement. Jace could hear the humming of the drone above. It moved slow, watching them like a hawk waiting to strike. One wrong move, and they'd be dust. Kira leaned against the stone wall, her shoulder bleeding, but she was still on her feet. Can you run? Jace whispered. Not fast, she said, but far. Jace nodded. Then we'll go together, you and me. She gave a weak smile. Still holding my hand? He held it tighter. Always, The soldiers didn't move. They were waiting for orders or for fear to fade. Either way, Jace knew they didn't want to fight. Not if it could be avoided. He stepped forward slowly. Raising his free hand, "I don't want to fight," he shouted. "But if you try to take her, I'll stop you." One of the soldiers lowered his rifle slightly. "Lieutenant Miller, they told us you were brainwashed." "I'm not," Jace yelled. "I was blind before, not now." Another voice came from the ridge. "Jace, this is your last chance." It was Rowan. He stood on the high ground now, arms crossed. His voice echoed, "You're choosing her over." "Your own kind?" Jace looked down at Kira, then back up. "Yes," he said, "because she chose me first." Rowan was quiet. Then he raised one hand. The drone dipped lower. Jace pulled Kira behind him. "I have one shot left in my flare gun," he whispered. "If I aim right, I can knock the drone off balance." She nodded. "Do it, then run." "No," he said, "we run together." He pulled the flare gun from his pack, just a tiny old tool, not made for war. But he had one flare. And one. Chance. He aimed up. Fired. The flare screamed through the air and struck the drone's underside. Sparks burst in the sky. The drone spun wildly and crashed into a tree, lighting up the night with fire and smoke. The soldiers ducked. Jace grabbed Kira's hand. "Go!" They ran through the gap trees, flashing past, gunshots echoing behind them. The soldiers shouted, but none chased. The crash, the flames, the confusion, it gave them a window, and they used it. They didn't stop for miles. Past the river, past the hills, into a wide-open meadow full of flowers that glowed faintly in the dark. There, they finally collapsed. Jace fell to his knees, heart racing. Kira dropped beside him, gasping. "I think we made it," he said. She leaned her head against his shoulder. "For now," he looked at her wound. "We need to treat that." Kira nodded. "There's a place, a grove. The forest will help me heal." She looked at him then, serious and calm. "You didn't have to come with me." "I wanted to," he said. "Even if the whole world turned against me." Kira's fingers reached for his, slowly intertwining. "You gave me more than freedom," she whispered. "You gave me choice. And now, I choose you." Jace smiled. "Through the pain and dirt, then let's build something new. You and me." They sat in silence, surrounded by glowing flowers, under an open sky that no longer felt like a battlefield. And for the first time since the war began, they held hands. Not because they were scared, but because they wanted to.